Welcome into Sports Memo's NFL opening line report with our NFL expert, Teddy Covers. Teddy, welcome in. How are you?
Hey, great to be here, Drew. It's Monday morning, man. There's something about these Monday morning, and of course, you feel better off a winning NFL weekend. And certainly, we did that. We won 3 out of 4 in the NFL this weekend. But it's Monday morning time. It's gearing up and looking at the next week's games, and I'm doing all right. How about you?
Hey, I'm doing good. It's already December 10th. Kind of surprise here. We're just over 2 weeks out from Christmas. It's reeling us in the end of 2018 here, Teddy. But we still got some NFL left. Bowl season on tap. NFL, college basketball. Got soccer if you're into that. So it's a great time to be a sports bettor. It's something to kind of a lot of us to prepare for, Teddy. A lot of work going on. Are you making it through all right?
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, the toughest stretch for me is November. When you got everything going at once and college football is full. And once you get into December and you get a little bit of a break and you can catch up on your hoops, and anything, you got to go back and miss everything you missed during that insanity of the post-Thanksgiving craziness. But it gives me – I really like this time, these first few weeks of December, because you have a little bit more time. The bowls, and we already have the first 5-star bowl season posted already right now. But the bowls are still largely a week away or so, and the focus right now really is closing out the NFL season strong. And what are we at 60% for the full season after the winning weekend, and making money in hoops. So it's a time of year that I like a lot, and hopefully we'll be able to make some money for you guys listening to the podcast today with some prescient thoughts on this week's NFL card.
Yeah, a lot up on Sports Memo, Teddy. You got your 5% New Mexico Bowl winner. You also got the Sin City Sizzler tonight. We got a short favorite big blowout. It's $9 Monday, so check that out at sportsmemo.com. All the plays are discounted to just $9. Tomorrow will be $2 Tuesday, so make sure to check that out. We got a lot of handicappers in fine form. Teddy, 60% NFL year to date. Also, 58% since 2018. So knowing the NFL as good as a lot of people out there, man. One of the best in the business. And we got a special coupon code for Teddy, NFL half at checkout for half off the rest of his NFL season. That's a huge savings, guys. Any quick opinion on the Monday nighter here, Minnesota-Seattle?
No, I really don't have a strong opinion on this game. There's a lot of factors pointing to the Seahawks tonight. Certainly the hotter of the two teams coming down the stretch, but I don't know if they're going to be able to run the football against Minnesota. Vikings season on the line. This game feels like a push. It really does. So I am not involved in the contest. I do think the Seahawks deserve to be favored. I think they should be favored by 3 at 3.5. You can look to Minnesota for a little bit of extra value, but this is where the line should be. And I think the game's lined appropriately. So I'm going to take the money I won in the NFL weekend and keep it in my pocket tonight, not getting involved with the Seahawks and the Vikings.
Yeah, Teddy, yesterday you went 2-3, 3-4 this past week. A lot of it was the home team Thursday night, Tennessee Titans. I was on it too. It was a great winner, and we got it again this week with the LA Chargers on the road at Kansas City. 53 the total. Looks like Kansas City getting hit now. 3 with some juice. 3.5s out there in the marketplace. You looking for the short week home team again?
Well, maybe not. And of course, with all of these, what I'm going to do, I'm going to give the look-ahead line. This is a bettable line from last week from the Westgate Superbook here in Las Vegas. I consider it a fairly accurate indicator of where these two teams were power rated prior to the games that just took place yesterday. And, of course, I'll give you my power rating number, my personal number that I've lined this game at. And, the look-ahead line was Chiefs -4. My power rating number is Chiefs -4. They certainly own the Chargers. What have they won? 7 straight in this series. But there's a lot to be worried about right now if you're a Kansas City fan. And I know that, they found a way yesterday against Baltimore. Mahomes, he's the MVP of the NFL. Kansas City's a 500 team without Patrick Mahomes. There's no player on any team that's worth. You can say Aaron Donald, you can say Todd Gurley, you can say whoever you want. There's no player on any team worth more than Patrick Mahomes is to the Chiefs this season. But Kansas City is really, this is not a plug-and-play offense. The thing that made the Chiefs' offense so unique for the first, 3 months of the season is the sheer number of playmakers that they can get into space. And now you have Hunt cut, Tyreek Hill Really, I don't know that he's going to be able to play this game. He was really limping yesterday. He was one banged up guy. You talk about Sammy Watkins, who's been a non-factor for KC, hasn't been able to get on the field. All of a sudden, this team with all the playmakers, they don't have that many playmakers right now. That's a concern here. And, of course, they struggled to stop the run. That happened again yesterday. Found a way to win that game. Miracle. They didn't get the cover. They didn't sniff a cover in that contest. But there was a lot. I was impressed with the fact that KC was able to win that ball game. But moving forward, this is a banged-up team with a defense that can't stop the run. And, of course, they're facing a team in L.A. that's playing really good football. Coming off they did what they had to do against Cincy. It wasn't pretty, and I probably should have had money on the Bengals in that game. I'm sort of kicking myself, although you don't like to be on dead teams late in the season. But the Chargers did what they had to do. They should get Melvin Gordon back. They could. I shouldn't say that. They could get Melvin Gordon back this week. The 3/3.5, it's going to 3.5. But, if I'm not going to say emergency betting alert, lay 30 cents juice to get the 3, I mean, you can if you want to, but mathematically, you're not going to get much the best of it there. But, yeah, this line's going to 3.5. The early money has come on the under as well.
And, Teddy, when the number's on 3 in the NFL, I'm seeing -125, -130, and then also 3.5s. Do you have any, quick thoughts out there for really any bettors out there as far as what the juice is before it jumps to the half point?
The 3 is worth approximately, I think it's like 22 or 23 cents over the long term. So versus the 3.5, it's you can lay -120 at -3 versus a 3.5 any day of the week. You'll make that bet.
Okay.
At -125 or higher, becomes a little bit more of a dicey proposition, a 50-50 proposition.
All right, Teddy. Well, we got the Saturday games in the NFL now with the college football regular season over, heading into bowl season. We got 3:03, 3:04, the earlier game on Saturday. Houston, New York Jets. Looks like Houston laying 6.5 on the road, 41.5 the total.
Yeah, and of course, you want to talk about a weird day in the NFL. You say all the top teams lost, and all the teams at the very bottom won. The teams that were 1, 2, and 3 for the first pick in the draft all won yesterday, including the New York Football Jets. Look ahead line was look ahead line here was Houston -7. My powering number is only Texas -5.5. I gave the Jets a boost with Sam Darnold, and boy, it showed yesterday. I mean, the Jets were badly outplayed for extended stretches, but Buffalo made mistakes. Buffalo didn't punch in touchdowns, and Sam Darnold with the ball in his hands in the fourth quarter. The Jets offense has worked at times this season with a healthy Darnold, and when Robbie Anderson and Quincy Enunwa were healthy. Enunwa wasn't really healthy yesterday, but he had one big catch, and he was on the field for most of the game. And Anderson had about, he had half a dozen catches. Every one of them a big play for the Jets in that comeback win. So you have a bad team off a win, they exhale. You have a good team off a loss, now they're hungry. You would expect money to come for the favorite in this game, but the wise guys are looking the other way. The early money has come on the Jets, Jets. And like I said, with Darnold behind center, my number's only 5.5 for this game. I'm not convinced that we're going to see any more 7s between the Texans and the Jets. I think the few that were out there are already gone.
Teddy, we got the night game on Saturday, Cleveland, Denver. Looks like 44.5 the total, with Denver laying 3 with some juice out there. Cleveland off of the outright win, Teddy.
Yeah, we still got 3.5. We still have a 3.5 at Penny as we record at South Point at 5 dimes, and at Bovada, SIA. That's still 3.5 offshore. There's not many in town. But this is an emergency betting alert game. Let's get the signal. Wee-oo, wee-oo.
There it is.
Hey, the guy. So we got some tweets on it last week, which I really appreciate you guys tweeting out, telling us that you like the show, telling us what you like and what you don't like. Because I don't know, we're just talking. So when you tweet, a lot of times I'm not great at responding to tweets. I apologize for that. I'm pretty bad at it, but I'll certainly respond to you here on the pod, and I really appreciate you taking the time to tweet at us, telling us you like that emergency betting alert. But this is it. The Browns are going to 3. There were 3.5s out there. They're getting bet down, and there won't be any 3.5s to support Cleveland tomorrow. Look ahead line here was 6. My powering number on Denver is only 2.5, and I know it's Cleveland off a win and Denver off a loss, And I know that the Broncos are supposedly the Broncos aren't realistic playoff contenders, certainly not without Sanders and Harris. They missed both guys yesterday flat as a pancake in San Fran, and say what you will. It was a Case Keenum game, and Case Keenum's going to have games like that where he's not very good, and he wasn't. But Denver right now, the handicap's pretty simple. If they can run the football, they got a chance. If they can't run the football, it's going to be an ugly game for the Broncos. And of course, you should be able to run the football on Cleveland. That run defense is not dominant, so it should, in theory, it's supposed to be a strong bounce back spot for the playoff contending Broncos. That being said, Cleveland's only a half game behind them in the standings. They're still alive to do something. And my powering numbers are clearly not by much, but they have the Browns as the better of these two teams. So, like I said, this line is going to 3. The 3.5s will not last. And Cleveland, 3 wins their last 4 ball games. The only game they lost at Houston where they were -4 in turnovers. The love for the Browns, I can understand it, and I don't disagree with it. If you're betting on Cleveland down the stretch, you're probably going to make more money than you lose, even though there's only 3 weeks left in the campaign.
Teddy, moving on to the Sunday card, we got Miami, Minnesota. Obviously, with the Vikings playing tonight, it's a limited market, but I am seeing some 7.5s or 8s. Looking at Westgate, South Point, and Heritage here. We got the Dolphins, Teddy. Hats off to you. You got your season win total to go on the over with the Dolphins in a hell of a way, man. Have at it.
Yeah, never in doubt, right?
Exactly.
Although, Miami going over 6.5. This has been a real good season for the season. It's been a real good NFL season. We're at 60% in mid-December. I'm not going to complain about anything. And when I'm in position, now we got put out 5 season wins prior to the campaign, and we cashed 4 of them. And the only one that we haven't cashed yet is the Bills under 6.5. Buffalo's 4-9 right now. They're going to have to win their last 3 in order to beat me. But it could be another 5-0 year with the season wins, and that'd be real nice. We've had quite a few of those over the course of the long term. But Miami, that was a big win for them. And now they're live in the playoff picture. Look headline here, Minnesota 8.5. My powering number, Vikings 7. I'm not particularly, Miami continues to suffer injuries, and they continue to make big plays. They continue to win games somewhat fraudulently. I'll take it. Don't get me wrong, but it'd be very interesting to see where this line goes. If you like the Vikings tonight, not going to hurt you to bet on Minnesota. If Minnesota wins tonight, they could easily be laying 10, 9.5, 10. If they don't, they won't be. It'll be in this range. So, in my mind, if you're going to make one bet on the Vikings, make 2 bets on the Vikings. You can find a 7.5 for Minnesota against Miami next week. If you're going to play them tonight, play them twice, because that number, like I said, if they win, more likely to go up. I don't see it. This name's getting. Even if Minnesota gets waxed tonight, I don't see this game coming at less than a touchdown. Given Miami's struggles in general, given Miami's poor physical profile, and given Miami's a road game in Minnesota in December is not necessarily what they're built for.
And Teddy, I get that it's a bit of a dead zone here, but from Heritage at 7.5 all the way up to 10. You think how normal is that this time of year in the NFL markets?
It's 7.5. I would say 9.5. I don't know that it gets to 10, but let's not forget, from 7.5 to 9, books will move to that on air just on teaser protection.
Okay.
So it doesn't take a lot to move. From 7.5 to 9, oh my God, it's 2-point move. Nah, the money to do that is like a half or a full point move. It's not as much money as it would take it to move, say, from 3.5 to 5.5.
Yeah, that's a great point. And overall, not every move is similar, apples to apples. These moves can be a lot different in the betting markets. We got 309, 310, Oakland, Cincinnati. Looks like 46 the total, Teddy. Seeing 3 with juice. Not seeing a couple, 3.5 pop up, but mostly 3 with juice. That's Cincinnati laying at home.
You're probably too young. Do you remember Wayne Fontes as a Lions head coach?
I do not.
Okay, well, Wayne Fontes, it was a funny deal because Wayne Fontes every year for years and years and years, it was like Wayne Fontes is going to get fired, Wayne Fontes is going to get fired, Wayne Fontes on the hot seat, and every year he would win a couple games at the end of the season and be back the next season, and it was like this recurring joke for Chris Berman on SportsCenter, and
Okay.
And it was like a deal. So here's Marvin Lewis for Cincinnati, okay? 16 years with the Bengals. And remember, last year, he's gone. Marvin Lewis is gone. He can't possibly survive. By the way, look headline here, Bengals 4.5. My powering number, Bengals 4. And then last year down the stretch, What'd they do? They played competitive football. They were good. They beat Detroit. They beat Baltimore. I remember 2 years ago when things were south, at the end of the season, they hung on Houston and beat Baltimore. It's like these Bengals teams down the stretch have been moneymakers, even in these bad years for Cincinnati. I mean, where they go 6-9-1 2 years ago, 7-9 last year, and you look at them last, the 6 games, both years are 4-2 ATS. And here's Cincy, they played a good game yesterday in LA. They fought. They were right in it. Driscoll was making throws. The defense stood up. They lost by 5. Lewis has them. He's in Rasputin type form. He has them playing their best football of the year right now, or that's football since September. Right now, of course, it's not easy to lay points with Cincinnati. Oakland off a win. West Coast team traveling east for an early start game. These aren't factors that are going to get the betting markets excited about the Raiders, but the betting markets aren't going to be excited about laying with Cincy either. But like I said, the look ahead was 4.5. My power number is 4, and the market's at 3 right now. There are a couple of 3.5s out there. I don't know how long those 3.5s are going to last. You might want to put some emergency betting alert here, although I don't know if there's enough 3.5s to do it. There's still a couple of 3.5s out there. They are not going to be there much longer.
And Teddy, what's your view there on the Raiders, the soon-to-be Las Vegas Raiders, the Oakland Raiders? Are motivational-wise at the end of the season here?
Look, Oakland has not played miserable football for the last month. They've had some miserable games this season. In the last month, by and large, they've been a competitive football team. Even that loss at Baltimore, they lost by 17. They were in that game. There were a couple of misleading scores. I don't think Oakland lays down the stretch, and you don't see that for the first-year head coach. The first-year head coach, the guys are playing to be on this team moving forward. They know there's going to be house cleaning in the offseason. They know Gruden's going to get his guys, and everyone else is going to be looking for work somewhere else. So I'm not. I don't look at the Raiders as any more of a bet against team now than they were. They were more of a bet against team a month ago, probably, than they are right now. Does that make sense?
Yep, makes perfect sense. We got 3-11, 3-12, Tampa Bay, Baltimore, 47 or 46 being the total. Looks like we got 7.5 or 8. That's the Ravens laying at home.
Yeah, look headline here was Baltimore 7. My powering number is Baltimore 7.5, and the market's sitting at 8 mostly, although there's some 7.5s out there, and Penny is showing signs they might drop to 7.5. But I didn't like any of the quotes coming out of the Bucs locker room after the game yesterday. Those were bad quotes, I'll tell you flat out. Whereas Tampa had New Orleans on the ropes in that game. They basically had them beaten. Then a punt block changed the momentum, and Tampa, once the momentum changed, they fell apart. And that worries me for a team that's now got to go on the road and play in the cold in the end of a bad season against a good defensive squad. This is not a bet on spot for Tampa. And the two most impressive games for Kansas City this season were where there are 2 losses in my mind. That's the 2 games where I'm like, wow, this team can go on the road, they can bang with somebody. They can go to New England and bang, they can go to LA and bang. They can win the games. At the end of those games, my powering number for Kansas City, I'm confident in this number. So here's Baltimore, a team that I really wasn't confident. I'm like, the Ravens going to go into KC. They can't rally from behind. Baltimore's loss yesterday. I upgraded upped my number on the Ravens. They proved that they can play and they can then contain the elite offenses. And that this Ravens defense is second to none in the NFL right now. But of course, the offense isn't. That being said, Tampa's been vulnerable against the run, and the most run-heavy team in the NFL, Baltimore. What do they run? Like 65% of the time since Lamar Jackson took over. They're comfortable with Jackson now, and I think they come out with confidence off of that loss to KC. Even when they lost it, the post-game comments were good from the Ravens, not so good for the Bucs. And yet, as you said, the 8s, they may not hang. This line's not going up in a significant way. 7.5, 8 is where I expect it to sit for much of the week.
Guys, we're about halfway through the games here on the opening line report. And remember the coupon code NFL-half at checkout. And that's $200 off rest of the NFL season. Get you the Super Bowl props package, the playoffs, everything like that. No charges later for just $199 for the rest of the NFL season. NFL half is the coupon code at checkout. We got Dallas, Indianapolis up next, Teddy. 47 being the total with the Colts laying 3 at home.
I feel like I should Wii U this game, even though I'm not convinced that Dallas is going to take the money, but I think they will. I think we're going to see some Cowboys money. I think this line closes 2.5, and it's 3 mostly out there right now. Yeah, man, I mean, Cowboys have a betting bandwagon now, and again, last night in a game where Dak Prescott does not play well, and the defense, twice in the last 5 minutes, they had Philly on the ropes and had the cover in hand, and twice the defense let them down and let Cowboys bettors down, even though they got the win in OT. But how about Garrett being aggressive in overtime, going forward on 4th down and field goal range, saying we're taking this ball and putting it in the end zone and winning the game, which is exactly what they did. That's very positive. Indy's win at Houston was equally positive. There was a lot to like about what the Colts did in that ball game. Defensively, Indy's way better than people have expected. You think back to that 1-5 start. They're 7-6 right now. So, and Andrew Luck's in a nice rhythm. Boy, he picked apart. He had a rough start, but once he got going, he was picking apart that Texans defense with a really good game plan. I like Frank Reich more and more every week. But like I said, I don't know if it goes off 3. If it's going anywhere, it's going down towards Dallas. I wouldn't be shocked to see Dallas take some support here. So we can Wii U this. Look headline here was Pick'em. My powering number is 2.5. The markets are at 3 right now. I'm not convinced that 3 is going to hold.
Teddy, we got 315, 316. Detroit at Buffalo, 38, 38.5. The total, seeing 2s, 2.5s. That's Buffalo laying at home.
Yeah, look ahead line here was Pick'em. My powering number is Bills -3. And I laid with Buffalo yesterday. That was my one loser in the NFL this week. And the Bills were by far the better team for most of the game, but they played like a team that shouldn't be favored. They made a lot of mistakes in the red zone. Josh Allen turned it over at inopportune times. The execution level wasn't there for the Bills. And, they were the better team for extended stretches of that game, and they ended up losing straight up at home. I think they're better than Detroit right now. Josh Allen is making some plays. He doesn't have any receivers, but he continues to be a very difficult quarterback to stop. And his ability to run the football every time he drops back to pass is really giving teams a lot of problems. I'm not convinced the Lions are built to stop that. Of course, Detroit coming off a win in Arizona, in which the big play was Darius Slay baiting a rookie quarterback into a throw and then making the interception and taking it back to the house. Read his comments after the game. The guy's like, yeah, I set that whole thing up. I was looking for it pre-snap. And he ended up, obviously with the biggest play of the game for Detroit. But, there's not a lot to like about the Lions offense right now. And defensively, they have a handful of playmakers, but it's certainly not the type of Detroit off a win is not anything I'm looking to be involved with right now. And certainly, even off the loss yesterday, and the Bills look to me like a team that is fighting hard down the stretch. And those tend to be the type of teams you want to have your money on, even when they have losing records.
Teddy, we got NFC North battle here. Green Bay at Chicago, 45.5 the total. Looks like Chicago, the Bears off a big win, laying 6 or 5.5 at home.
Wee-oo.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. So look at line here was Bears 6. My number's Bears 4.5. I was having a big argument. Not a big argument. Sometimes I'm back and forth on Skype chat with Brent Crow when the lines come out. He's like, this line's got to come out a touchdown. I'm like, no way. It's coming out 4.5. Because it's hard to power rate the Packers right now. It flat out is. And the market said, all right, 6.5, 6. Like I said, my number was 4.5, and here we are. Boom. The money right now is coming in on Green Bay. I think we will see more of it, even though I know what the Bears did on Sunday Night Football against the Rams. I'm well aware. Defensively, a very impressive showing. Offensively, Bears aren't going to trade points with anyone. They're not going to trade points with Aaron Rodgers. And the quote, let me find that quote because it's worth talking right here. Aaron Rodgers after the game yesterday, where Green Bay rallied from an early deficit and pretty much dominated thereafter. Quote: "There's a lot of fight left in this squad. There's a path for the Packers to win the division, I think. certainly to make the postseason. In fact, when you look at the NFC, and let me get these standings up right now. NFC right now, okay, there's 4 teams that are probably in: Saints, Rams, Bears, and Cowboys. The Seahawks right now is the first wild card at 7-5. The Vikings have the second wild card at 6-5-1. One of those 2 teams is going to lose tonight. Then you have the Panthers at 6-7, the Eagles at 6-7, the Redskins at 6-7. Nobody's scared of any of those teams. The Packers at 5-7-1. You're looking for a long shot right now? Maybe. I'm not in any rush to bet against Green Bay. Again, they're 5-7-1. They've got no odds to win anything. The odds are pretty low. Maybe you look at Green Bay in the future here. If they lose this game, it won't matter. But I like the way they played. I don't trust Trubisky over Rodgers in this point spread range. And like I said, my power rank number only 4.5, even though the markets were at 6. The Packers are not a team that the betting markets are comfortable with their number right now. Green Bay and mine are bouncing up and bouncing down. And how good is Green Bay? And maybe they're good. And if they are, this number looks a little bit high. And it's gone on the process of going down.
All right. Good. That was a good emergency betting alert there, Teddy, with the sirens. You're getting good at it. We got 319, 320 up next. Tennessee, New York Giants. We got 43 being the total, 42.5 out there as well. 2.5 with some juice. That's the New York Giants laying at home.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised by this number. Look headline was 1.5. My powering number is 1. And Tennessee, Tennessee's live and the Giants aren't. And the Giants are coming off a blowout win over Mark Sanchez, dude. Hello? It was Mark Sanchez. Oh, I'm still kicking myself for not playing that one. I had a couple of my the two games in the NFL that I'm 3 actually that I'm an idiot for not getting involved with yesterday. I can't complain off of a winning weekend, but I really should have had the Giants on my card yesterday. You saw that coming from Washington. But the bottom line is a blowout win off a shitty team late in the season. Now the Giants are laying. Tennessee's the better of these 2 teams. But the Titans, the defense is there. The running game's there. Nobody's trusting Mariota right now. The markets certainly aren't. And, of course, the Giants' defense made a good handful of plays the last couple of weeks. But this line's not going to 3. I know there's 2.5s with juice. I really don't. And there's even a couple of 3s out there. Greeks at a 3. Bulldogs at a 3. I think the prevailing line here goes 2.5. I would be surprised to see Tennessee catching 3. And if they do catch 3, there'll be a fair bit of market support for that Titans defense as an underdog.
Teddy, not one of the more marquee games on the slate, but we got Washington at Jacksonville, 36 the total. Looks like the Jags laying 7 at home.
Yeah, I might well get involved in this game. I'll tell you flat out, because the Jags have no business laying a touchdown to anybody. Look headline here, 6.5. My power rating number, Jags 4. Okay, Sanchez started the game and was god-awful. And then Josh Johnson came in and lit up, boom, 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 down the field, a couple touchdowns. He's going to get the start this week for Washington. He's clearly the better option. He can make plays with his legs as well as with his arm. And the Redskins had a real – you don't know if it was just the end of the game and nothing matters, but the Redskins got a spark with them. And the Jags can't lay 7. We saw a quit team on Thursday Night Football. I know it was a short week and all of that on the road, but, this is not – a Jag squad that I'm confident to say, all right, hey, win this game by more than a touchdown. Again, look at line 6.5. My number only 4. And for as bad as Washington looked, Jacksonville looked every bit as bad, and Washington showed signs of life in the second half of that game. The Jags did not. I'm 7.5s out there in some spots. Can't lay 7.5 with the Jags. They're not capable of covering those type of numbers. As bad as the Redskins were, I don't know. Was that their low point? Probably.
Buy low, sell high. That's what it's all about. We got 323, 324 Arizona at Atlanta, 44 the total. The Falcons laying, looks like 9, 8.5 in the marketplace right now, Teddy.
Look headline, Atlanta 7.5. My powering number, Atlanta 7. The Falcons were pretty dead last week. They were pretty dead the week before. They were pretty dead the week before that and the week before that. And, again, you talk about teams you want to be laying this type of price with. The market's like, yeah, sure, Atlanta's fine. They're 4-9. You can lay 8.5 with them. They're way better than Arizona. And Arizona is, I think I got Arizona dead last now in the power. There's been this constant battling for who's the worst team in the NFL between Buffalo and the Jets and Oakland and Cincy and Arizona. I think I got Arizona at the very bottom. right now. It was a pretty demoralizing loss yesterday. They're certainly not a team that you're excited about saying, all right, yeah, go on the road to Atlanta and face a high-powered offense, in theory, and compete. Josh Rosen's not there yet, and that offensive line is dismal, and Arizona's receiving corps isn't any good. Their defense is decent, and Atlanta's isn't. So you're getting a much better defensive team, more than a touchdown. But the market's, I'm not seeing a clear indicators the market's moving right now. Not on side, not on total. 8.5, 44.5 seems to be pretty well cemented. Or sorry, 8.5, 44 seems pretty well cemented into place right now, at least for Monday morning.
Teddy, next game up, we got Seattle, San Francisco. Looks like a limited marketplace right now with Seattle playing tonight, but seeing 5.5s out there, mostly in Vegas.
Yeah, look at line with Seahawks -7, which is kind of interesting because, San Fran played better yesterday. My power number is Seattle -4.5, which is a little bit shorter, obviously, than the look-ahead line. And I bumped San Fran up yesterday after the 49ers, at times, they've looked like they were tanking. I don't know. None of the tanking teams are tanking. Everyone's like, all right, we can get a win, let's do it. That being said, if the Seahawks have a blowout tonight, this line likely to come a notch or two higher. If Seattle loses, it's not going to come a whole lot lower. So, like we talked about with Minnesota earlier, if you like the Vikings tonight, make 2 bets. If you like the Seahawks tonight, you can find the 5.5s out there now. If they win and cover, the number's not going to be any lower than 5.5. You will be likely getting the best of the number.
Teddy, New England, Pittsburgh, not seeing any line, side, or total. What's going on here?
Yeah, Big Ben, who should be fine. He came back in the fourth quarter and actually guided the Steelers down the field a couple times, and he's probable. So I'm not sure what the big deal is. James Conner's another question mark. He's listed as I think he was upgraded to questionable. But the markets, look, this is going to be a heavily bet game. And they want to be damn sure that before they post a number, they have the appropriate starting quarterback for the Steelers. Because if you saw Josh Dobbs playing yesterday, and Tomlin's quote, after Pittsburgh lost that game, on the missed field goal after they brought in Big Ben and rallied him back after the defense collapsed and, let Carr light him up in the second half. His quote about Dobbs was played for 4 or 5 series in the second half, and then Ben came in at the end. And they asked Tomlin after the game, why'd you leave Dobbs in there? Ben was good enough to play. He's like, well, we wanted to. He had a nice rhythm. I think Dobbs had 26 passing yards. We wanted to let him develop a rhythm. He had 4 completes for 26 yards, and Pittsburgh didn't score on any of his drives, and they ended up losing the game. So, bottom line here, again, look ahead was Steelers -1.5. My power number with Big Ben is Steelers pick 'em. No, you don't downgrade New England off the loss yesterday. And yes, when you handicap this game, you do remember the fact that the referees decided last year that Pittsburgh's game-winning touchdown wasn't a touchdown. The calls went for New England pretty heavily in that game, as I recall it. Someone has, that cost me my season win on the Patriots last year. It made me crazy. But the bottom line here is that, Pittsburgh off a loss, New England off a loss, Steelers more desperate, but there are things you don't bet against in this world, and one of them is Bill Belichick and Tom Brady off a loss. So I would anticipate there will be at least some New England money.
Teddy, we get the Sunday nighter, Philadelphia at the LA Rams, 53.5 the total. Looks like the Rams laying 9 in LA.
Look at line, LA -7.5. My powering number is Rams -9. Philly, and look, the track record for the teams off the overtime losses on them going back on the road is not pretty. And Philly's defense, they were on the field the whole game yesterday in Dallas, and now they got to play a Rams team coming off a bad showing. Really back. The 2 games since the bye for L.A. I know they won and covered at Detroit. They weren't sharp in that game. They certainly weren't sharp in the cold last night against Chicago. Now they're back in L.A. They're facing a team that has no secondary. Dak Prescott was awful yesterday, and he still threw for 460 yards against Philadelphia. So you can understand the support for the Rams in the markets, even though the look ahead was 7.5. Like I said, my number is 9. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if this, ticks up a notch or two. But it feels like 9.5. I don't know this line. This isn't like we know it's going to 10. You grab the 9 now. It feels like a 9.5 throughout the course of the week.
Teddy, one game left, the Monday Nighter. And guys, Teddy's hitting 60% NFL year to date, 58% since 2015. And we got the coupon code NFL half at checkout for $200 worth of savings. That's half off the rest of his NFL season. We'll run it through tomorrow night, close of the office here. We got last game, Monday Nighter, New Orleans, Carolina, NFC South matchup here. 6 is the number. The Saints laying on the road. 54 the total, Teddy.
Yeah, and just to make it very clear, if you want my NFL, this is the best deal you're going to get. You're going to get the last 3 weeks of the regular season. You're going to get every playoff game. You're going to get the Super Bowl. You're going to get the Super Bowl props. And there's nothing more to buy. There's no bait and switch. We're not going to add something on. Oh, yeah, you get everything but this. Half off. What's it? Less than $200 to get the rest of the season. It's been a good season, and I expect it to be a good stretch run of this season. If you're thinking about it today, an excellent day to get on board. When you talk about the Monday night game, look ahead line here with Saints minus 6.5. My powering number is Saints minus 5. Sorry, minus 5.5. And the market's right now 6.5. I mean, New Orleans betting bandwagon and a fraudulent cover yesterday. Although in some ways, it was special teams, and that's something we don't give enough credit for. And they were reading us a lot of the post-game comments from the Saints. Were like, special teams coach was going, someone's got to make a play. Someone's not to make a play. We need to turn the momentum around. And Taysom Hill blocks a punt, and all of a sudden, Taysom Hill's been such an impact player for that team. All of a sudden, boom, the offense is working. The defense is flying over the field. This Saints defense has been great over the last month. We kind of forget it because the offense hasn't been as good. Saints defense, think about where they were in September to where they are now. Night and day difference. Offensively, they've been out of sync, of late. They did find some rhythm in the second half yesterday. They will certainly get a test from Carolina, but, it's a Panthers team now. They've had the circle the wagon game. They've had another circle the wagon game. And, all right, this time we really got to do it. I didn't like the way they lost yesterday in Cleveland. They did a lot of things right in that game. And there they are, first and goal with a chance to win late in the fourth quarter. Run, incomplete pass. 5 straight losses for the Panthers. It sure is Monday Night Football at home. It's a step-up spot in theory. Saints are going to be a popular choice, certainly at the public books. Again, it's 6.5. The wise guy books are showing signs that we could see some Carolina money, in this ballgame. Penny's at 6.5 plus 0.4 on the Saints, but and a lot of the books, the Heritage and Jazz and that are at 6s already. But realistically, you know who the public's going to be on. It's a Monday Night Football game. 6.5 or 7. This line's not going down a whole lot off of the current number.
Teddy, thank you for the time. Been good in the NFL. 60% this year, 58% since 2015. We got the coupon code NFL half at checkout. $199 for the rest of Teddy's NFL season. He's got a bunch of plays up right now at sportsmemo.com, and he's got his 5% New Mexico Bowl winner. Check that out as well. That's going on Saturday. Guys, we'll be back tomorrow with some college basketball and NHL betting podcast. Thanks for listening. Best of luck with your bets.